Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lunch with a Life Coach. We are at episode 12, and we are also at part 5 of the giveaway of all of the goodies and all of the content within the calendar cleanup method. So today, if you are following along with the workbook, you are going to turn to page 14. If you are not following along with the workbook, that is okay too, because today's episode is really key, yes, for working through the calendar cleanup, but also something I use really often in my regular life coaching with clients, with my students. It is something called a strengths-based approach. And you are maybe familiar with that phrase, that term, or that idea. And it is really speaking to we do not give ourselves enough credit for all the things we already know how to do, can do, have done, and how in those can do, have done, all those areas, how we have skills, tools, and abilities that we actually can bring into a different or a new effort or a new goal or a new thing that you're trying. So today, again, page 14, if you're working through the workbook with me, today we're talking about a strength-based approach and particularly current check-in or current strategy check-in in terms of your time management skills. So this is not a long episode, similar to the last. And if you aren't quite sure where we are, what we're doing, please go back to the previous episode. So there has been 4 so far on this whole calendar cleanup process. And my goal is really to help people. I've been in the fitness field, the health and wellness field, the coaching field for a really long time. No matter the goal, the focus for folks, the challenge for everybody, regardless of, age, goal, etc. The challenge for everybody has been how to make the time to do whatever it is that you're after. And so that is why this whole calendar cleanup process is something that I share with folks, because it's something I have used for decades myself. It just came out organically of how yes, I'm a Virgo, a Virgo. So, we have some control issues, but also how to really bring things forward in such an organized way that we can do all the things we want to do. And then transferring that to helping clients with figuring out how to strategize and really organize their calendar. So like a home organizer does for your home, she comes in, she, takes all the things, gets it all working better, gets rid of some of the things. That's a big key. If you've joined me for the first few episodes, we refine a lot. So if you're not quite sure sort of where we are, what we're chatting about, scroll back, listen to some of those other episodes to really kind of bring you up to where we are so that you can have the, all that info to help you move forward. So today I want you to think about the other areas of life in which you've been successful. Maybe that's family, parenting, and so if you go, oh, I've never been successful parenting, just revisit that. I know I've got a couple kiddos too, and I know it's not easy. There are always areas we would like to improve upon, and there are areas we have done so well. So give yourself the credit. That said, other areas like, have you organized your home? Have you organized your garage? Have you, whatever the case is, right? Have you created a schedule for your work? Do you do scheduling for your team? Whatever the case is, right? You have skills, abilities, and tools that perhaps you haven't considered could actually apply when you're creating your own calendar, when you're refining and revising, and then creating a time management plan for you now. So a couple things I want you to think about. First of all, this gets easier each time you do it. As is noted on page 14 of that workbook is something that I do quarterly. So every quarter, in January, in April, in, what would that be? July, in September, I do a review of what needs, because my schedule changes with teaching. It changes seasonally too, right? So I have different classes, different times, etc. And so when the first time that you do it, the process does take time because you've got a category, inventory, categorize, and refine. The word of this process, refine, get some things off your to-do list. And so it is something, of course, that takes time at first. Now, steps 1 through 8 actually take me, this is step 8 in the workbook if you're looking. it takes me about 10 minutes to actually refine, update, and kind of roll with the new program or the new calendar, because it is something that I've practiced at. So I promise it gets easier, like anything, as you go through it. So there are some questions in the workbook that you might want to work through in this area. So first, I just want you to think about, as the question I already asked you, what are your other areas of success? And maybe it's today, maybe 10 years ago, you had a particular project that you worked on and it went so well. I just want you to dig back into the skills, the tools that you've used, the different strategies over time. What could you bring forward? Okay, so that's number one. And then there are some questions that are also here in terms of looking at what you're doing right now to manage your time and organize your calendar. So what are you using now? Do you use an app? Do you use a good old paper calendar? I still love my old organizer. This year, my organizer has little dogs on it. I don't know if you can see it, but I love my paper organizer, and I love all the apps and text and tech too. But I don't know. I really think the paper is going to be the way to go for me. But how are you currently managing your time? That's what you need to know, right? We can't change anything. You can't adjust anything if you're not quite sure what your strategy is now. So with your current strategy, what is working and what isn't working, right? So where do you notice the times of chaos? That's what I want you to think about, to figure out if something is working or not. What we want to look at is, when are the times that things have moved well? The day was organized, you did the things that you needed to do, and you managed the crises that came up, or the new projects that popped up, or the sick kiddo that was home from daycare, et cetera, right? Where are the areas and where were the days that have gone well? And so reviewing that, whatever strategies you're using for those, that could be really helpful piece of information of things that are working. And then where are the times that aren't working? So you could, review some of the examples we just gave, and you just felt like everything went sort of off the rails, and it was a really overwhelming day. Now, these days happen. I'm not saying that this is going to be a perfect process. Days happen where things are really difficult. And I just want you to think about, we want to make sure we have fewer of those days that we can't recover from than we do the days that are, we're proactive and things are going well. So what's working, what isn't? Now, what are the current spaces in your calendar? So if you look at Monday, let's say, and you just kind of go, okay, this is Monday and it's open from 9 to 5, and you just sort of have a list, and you haven't actually sectioned that list into what's from 8 to 9, what's from 9 to 10, what's from 10:30 to 11:30, I don't know, whatever the case is, right? And how you'd split it up. What's not effective for most folks is having, a day, a chunk of time on the calendar go, yes, this is my work day, as an example, and this is the work to do list. And I just kind of hope things will, flow together. I just sort of hope that it's going to happen. Hope is not a strategy. And so what I want you to look at is to say, what in my work to do list, as this example, what in my work to do list, categorize it, right? This is why the categories are so important, because you get your brain working, one part of the brain working through the numbers or the creativity or whatever the case is, and section that into, from this time to this time. When you have a start time and a stop time, that sense of urgency, because you think, oh, I have to be done this by this time, that sense of urgency raises a little bit, right? So it is something to think about, start time and stop time for this particular area. And also, how are you currently spending your time? What are the things that you are doing? Where is your time going? So the last episode, which was, of course, part 4, and it spoke about 2 tools that are really useful, that if some of these questions I'm asking now, you think, I'm not so sure, go back to that episode. It's only 6.5 minutes. Talks about a time estimation tool and a time log. These are things that are really key for us to know. How are we currently spending our time? And that's the time log. And the time estimation is about, how long do these tasks take? So I invited you to think about a stop time and a start time, or start time and stop time. And so if you actually don't know how long it will take you to do a particular project or a certain thing on your list, then how can you have a start and stop time, right? These are all of the things that I promise you, when they come together, That's why, right? Like full transparency right now, I have 10 minutes to record this episode. Then I have 5 minutes to let it load. And then I have to teach a fitness class on Zoom. And so, but because I know how long each of these things are going to take, I'm able to just roll with that. I know the time. It doesn't feel stressful because I know the time's there. I know the time will fit in. And if something happened, I don't know, that interfered with my time, for example, then I know that actually after my class that finishes in about an hour from the start time, I would be able to sort of plug this task in if I needed. Okay, so really being aware of the start, the stop, the length of time, and how you're spending your time, how that can come together. Okay, you'll also notice, and probably if you've spent any time here, you won't be surprised to hear me say what can come off your to-do list. Maybe, that's the now, never, next process. Go back a few episodes. What is right now? What are the things that have to be on your calendar? What is never? What's the stuff you can actually take off or schedule in your calendar to revisit maybe a week from now, a month from now, a quarter from now, etc. Okay. So we're wrapping up. That's it. I need you to think about a couple of things. Here, you're looking at what are your strengths that you haven't yet given yourself credit for. And again, if you're not sure, that's a difficult thing for folks sometimes. I want you to think about successful times in parenting life, your volunteering, your involvement in your church, your work, whatever it is, right? What have been the things that you've done well? There's evidence in there of tools and ability that you have that you can actually bring forward to help you move forward in this process. That's the strength-based approach to coaching. Second, here's what I need you to do. You're going through that list of questions is what I'm looking at. So what are your tools being used? What's working? Tools, I mean time management tools. What's working? What isn't? How are you organizing the current space on your calendar? What does that look like? What is open? What is full? What are you trying to squash things into that is full? What is open that you're not making the best use of the time, right? So just that review of current usage, because then our next step, right, is to create your entire new calendar, your new plan of how you're going to bring this all together, okay? So if you have any questions, please email me, Deanna at deannalangfordcoaching.com. If you're interested in joining my next workshop that's coming up soon, where we run through this all together on Zoom, or you want to grab the workbook or anything like that, or interested in one-on-one coaching because I can sit down to this process with you, visit deannalangfordcoaching.com as you would expect, and or just shoot me a message and we can chat. All right, get organizing, recognizing your strengths, and I'll see you back soon.